What is going on, guys, and welcome to CSS tutorial. In this video we're going to have a look how we can actually place a text vertically in the center of div box if the div box's, let's say, size is changing, the height, right? So the first thing we would need to do is actually create a div box, and within the div box we're going to set a paragraph, and within that paragraph we're going to say text here like this, and then within the div we obviously need to use the quick edit, and we'll set a new rule in our main CSS. And what we're going to say is that we want a text align center, right? We already know that. And just for visual purposes, let's just make a over here a border, and we're going to say that the border is 3 pixels solid red, something like that. You can see right away, right? So the good thing is over here, what you can see is that as I'm doing this right away, the text is sitting in the middle, right? But what if I would want to make, let's say, this div bigger, right? One way of doing that, actually, if I don't care about the size, if I just care about the fact that this needs to be center and it doesn't matter what is the size of it, what I could do is I could, let's say, add a padding. But when I'm adding a padding around this text, right, within this div box, I would need to add this padding evenly, meaning that if I'm adding 70 pixels over here, I would need to add 70 pixels also in the bottom, right? So over here like this, and then 0. So what I'm doing right now is I'm basically adding a 70 pixels on top and 70 pixels in the bottom, right? Now there's a shortcut how we can write this. We don't need to write it this way. We can actually just write like this, and then the browser knows that I'm talking about the top and the bottom and the left and right. So over here, again, if I don't care about the size of the div box, I can use the padding like this. Doesn't matter what is the size of the div box as long as the text is in the center. However, let's look at an example where we care about the size of the div box. So let's say we have a height, right? And the height is, let's say, 300 pixels. So what do we do right now? I cannot use the padding. If we're going to be using the padding, even if we're doing evenly, it's still going to be wrong, right? Even if we put 70 here and 70 here, it's not going to do the same thing. And we can obviously try to calculate it and push it from the top. That's an option, but it's not a very good option. So what are our options is actually creating a line height property, and when we are creating a line height property, actually to set the line height property to the same value as we have our div box. So you can see right here. The only problem is over here. You can see that obviously we also need to counter the fact that it has a its own width, right? It has its own pixels. So obviously it is in a center. However, it's not going to be exactly because there's also pixels involved in here. And we're going to look at 2 more videos from now. I think in that video we're going to look how we can actually deal with this problem. However, just for now, you know that you can just set the line height to the same width, and it's going to be very, very close actually to the center. Now let me show you another way what happens. Let's say that if we have 2 lines, right? So for now I'm just going to save this over here right now, and let's say I'm going to go on over here, and I'm just going to put this text not B, not like this. I was just going to say a line break. And now you can see that I have a text, but because the line height is 300, you can see that there's 1 line, and somewhere here is a second line, right? So how do we fix that? Let's say that you have a text that like multiple lines, but you want it exactly in the middle. So again, this time we go to here to this paragraph, and obviously in a normal case you would have a class and everything, but I just don't see the point of wasting time. I just want to show you how we can do it right away on with the actual selector. So what we would need to do, the first thing we would need to do is we would need to write display, and we would write display, and we would say that we want display inline block. So we have over here display, and we would want it inline block. So first you can see how it's changing to the inline block. And the next thing what we want to do is actually vertical line over here. And we would want a middle vertical line, right? We would set it in the middle. We'll find a middle. Middle is over here. And the last thing what we would need to do is actually come up with the line height that we want over here. So line height, and let's say we could start with 1. We can start with 1.3. We can go to 1.7. So you can see what's happening. Right now I set them both vertically in the middle because I actually changed the display to inline block of the whole paragraph. And what's happening now, I can just control the line height, but it's still sitting in a vertically in the center. But we always need to keep this where we have the actual a line height is actually equal to the height of the box. This is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next